Cool, I just got it. Let me download this. Okay, got it. I'm good to go.
All right, so y'all, this round is streaming on YouTube. When the round is done, I'll just turn it off. So we're not going to get any RFDs on YouTube. I'm turning off all comments and no live chat. So no mean comments will be on the YouTube page or anything like that. So you don't need to worry about that. So, all right, enjoy it. Pretend I'm not here.
Is everyone good? The advantages necropolitics and lethal autonomous weapons possess and controls killability, the biopolitical operation by which life is controlled and morally by
for that. Okay, I can hear you all now. There was an issue, but now it's been resolved. Sorry.
Wait, sorry, what was that?
I was having trouble hearing you, but I realized the error was on my end. I apologize.
Okay. I'm just gonna start from the spot. Okay, is everyone good? Awesome. The advantages necropolitic lethal autonomous weapons possess controls killability, the biopolitical operation by which life is controlled and morally by robots and centers control and power over populations. That's Kapari all 16. Sovereign power holds the power of life deciding who decides the life of the population, taking control of different mechanisms, trying to modulate killability based on abilities of state of being killed, state of being killable, distinction, agency based on ethically committed cultural techniques to find understanding what a living being means, and the killability release of records of chain operations that are to define any human life decision and extended the killability manifests the robots opening in life in situations that are the ethics of lethal autonomous weapons killability reports of the alternative trajectory, the problem with autonomous weapon systems, ability to take lives of human intervention-based robots ethics in that particular moment, and discussions of laws must begin with the investigations of the power structures that create them. An understanding of the power is capillary, and those are programs, governmental institutions, and corporations is necessary to create an ethical framework that prescribes action pertaining to laws. That's Corporea 17. Power started for understanding of how organizations are power to and who may be started architected laws by examining organizations power entails the specialized elements and mechanisms comprised of the power leads to actions and individuals limited to the achievement of the individual internalized particular behavior of acts and actions of power becomes through the mechanism being incorporated their attractive institutions society or digital drive power through using aptitudes or body modify consumer and destroy things that empowers code relations programmers to power of the laws of the benefit or multiple individuals as power of individuals a program of a range of action open in the machine imposing constraints on the software creator versus power of the laws of institutions there's power of control indicates the exercise part of velocity or capture how organizations that armed forces are to the DoD operate them have always capillary raise legal regulations are used to shape future practices of overall climate and hyper organization and just willing the shape of capillaries of power which give laws the license to take life at the will. A tracking and analysis of where this power comes from is essentially deconstructing of root causes of an unnecessary sanctioning killing. That's Corporea 17. Exercise power filling center because capillaries examining the audits of multiple stakeholders involved in creating specifications laws that individual are involved in designing laws that the individual host can power concentrated to the division of the division labor of the community training and disciplining and training their action of troops into the technical capacity that the creative creative disciplines offer created the exercise power of the laws of creating high architecture and determining the capacity to form heavy program relies on communication and actions of the very low programs also trigger commission to the current programs can undertake empower to conduct the abilities of machines that allows can work with digital energy to modifying software the mechanisms of individual to power the process takes and enables individuals that can contribute pattern holds ratios loss and they cannot experience themselves into the being under constant surveillance and deployment duties of manager public because element technical capacity strength accountability the preference of laws of senior members of the corporation and government agency responding for designing laws and the necropolitical ability for laws as a drone warfare to an exception recreates racial and colonial logics that justify the creation of non-life that which a drone can kill at will without human operation creates endless zones of death. That's Allenson 15. Objectification of anybody should not allow part of the parts of the general war or the sort of concern nature race and its emerging structures of preparation privilege and devices of demonization and characteristics passivity femininity warlike treacherous natures that abandon throughout the history of warfare as a warfare the colonial political plans of the power of the sovereign operates through the right to the command sector the brightness of society disciplines mandates body the docility surveillance and reproduction. Oh, sorry, my Word document. Transition to the storm of power by political politics, every power of like implying the population by cast raising the population where the elected to do right to take advantage of their branding exemption to race these others and vitality the remaining body of the race or is the reason remaining body of the race and technology the power of European colony necropolitics established a distinct population with the elected rated at the command of the third race and technology power unites the sovereign power of the technology into population joint is technology by population drawing case representing with the United life society is a political one that serves on its matters of life to purposes about its environment and also to mechanisms that are working the technology racialization and racism fleshy opportunities in policy when we first use good in battle space. And the subversive logic in politics render value life meaningless and results in justifications and genocide and renders extinction inevitable when everything is of greater political value than lives themselves. So the state of exceptions and unchallenged leads to both everyday extinctions and grants the ability of existential catastrophe. That's Kuros 97. Consequences of the larger challenges in conservative technologies as they did know that as in meaning a lot of life is something that's regarded because it brings up disclosure to the entire population, but blessed with the purpose of whole source a lot of the technological wars of how they tend to be increasingly towards the destruction, atomic situation, and a phony process by ourselves with assessing capabilities or by humanity as we know it. That's the plan. States ought to ban lethal autonomous weapons. The realization of bipolitical nature of laws against the elimination of them. Only an outright ban and deconstruction systems of power can unravel the nature of killing intrinsic to lethal autonomous weapons. That's Capri 17. Many governments regard competition to foster British safety laws of features and programs and aware that the government agencies are proud of the corporation not over the world, but the situation laws and further permissible to kill civilians based on observing unlawfully conduct to the adversary dangerous on the process of destruction of hierarchy of powerful laws operate in the battlefield. And critique of the relationship of power and knowledge, a comprehensive method to create change when total generalizations of military justification of lethal autonomy forms of resistance break out of bipolitical structure the necessary first step to revolutionary resistance. It's Hamano 9. Resistance power fluid governmentality and the government force around to distribution value of the conduct of struggles social and the parents allowed to recognize there's in governmentality critique critical response to contemporary forms of governmentality administration cases of education uses in terms of conduct and the elimination of lethal autonomous weapons and the control they hold requires the affirmative dual focus of a political ban and a cultural project deconstructing the social and technological systems of power that arrives at laws as a permissible strategy of killability. Only the dual approach can ensure that the affirmative is the first of an anti-political project that engages the questions of technology to deconstruct power over life. That's Capari all 16. How to colonize issues in life over military practical and physical brand of power of the life to kill life itself autonomous weapons that are worth for the warfare setting military individuals should be branded and man offensive motive autonomous weapons beautiful human control of killer weapons and human sovereignty control regarding who lives and who dies or creation of autonomous systems to next fundamental empowered with machines no longer intimate human nature particular and human machine and the role of human as regards to discussion of when individual constructive technical operation the right and proposal check out the operation of the holding interaction with consequences of techniques about an object of pursuit operations or single objectives killing the price of killability manifests in autonomous weapons technology on the battlefield addition life and death analyzation to changing easy control of architecture mechanisms and using different fields of culture and the role of the judge to be a critical educator invested in minimizing structural violence starting and ending with new educational tools of evaluating these autonomous weapons and debate itself as well as a commitment to deconstruction of problematic past pedagogies. That's 004. I argue for transfer of pedagogy to relation questions that kind of way of practice forms of production and action in public and higher education and also relational contextual self every the theory of relations for yes of educating each other or teaching us of research to the promise of the rights of the different aspects of peers every life education has to critical those of non-social relations find themselves in conceptual purity political and sense of not they come to be and alleged neutrality those argued on it ethical political choices. Cut the credit choices.
Well, let me cut that.
Yeah.
Ready for cross?
Mhm.
Okay. Why is necropolitics bad other than the fact that it allows people to be killed?
Sure. We think that there's two pieces of impact evidence in this that would answer the question pretty well. First, the Allenson 15 evidence is pretty good about the way that first I think that the ability to be killed is an impact in of itself, right? Nobody wants to be killed. We think that people being killed for no reason is a bad thing. And also the Allenson evidence indicates that things besides extinction, racism are all justified through the state of exception or necropolitics because people are no longer deemed value of life, but merely seen as expendable in the terms of they can always be killed by a drone or lethal autonomous weapon.
Okay, you say that the role of the in your your last Giroux card about educators, you say that educators need to cast a critical eye. Why?
Yeah, the Giroux evidence indicates how in the past there has been instances in which progressive educators do not have any kind of questioning of current assumptions. And I think the rest of the 1AC is a pretty good indication about why we shouldn't just take things at face value, i.e. we shouldn't be drones are bad because they might lead to extinction or something like that, but we need to do a deeper investigation of it. I think that means that the Giroux card is pretty good about why educators need to be more critical about the knowledge and relations they are passing on, i.e. every time the judge votes after, that it's not just a neutral investment. Sorry?
So educators need to be critical so that they could teach critical things that will allow better outcomes?
Yeah, we think that every time the judge votes for neg, they're not doing that in a debate vacuum, but they're doing that in some have a shaping on our subjectivities and having an influence on our pedagogies. The reason that people type up RFDs and give speaker points is because there is an educational value inherent to judging and inherent to debate.
Okay, sure. On your Haman card, how is the AF a critical form of resistance? It seems to me like you're just acknowledging that laws could be bad.
I don't think it's just an acknowledgement that laws can be banned. I mean, we fiat that states ban lethal autonomous weapons, which is definitely like a much deeper change than just like the mere acknowledgement. I also think that like within the way that bans operate, there can be a like criticism of the relationship between power and knowledge, which is exactly what Haman is talking about. It's talking about how governmentality is both top down, meaning from the state to the people, and bottom up, the opposite way. So in order to for us to have productive change, we need to operate from the state down, which is how we ban lethal autonomous weapons, and from the bottom up, which is the kind of like pedagogical approach of
that's fine. So the app seems to be relying on the idea that laws can never be ethical, correct?
Yeah, we think that autonomous weapons that kill people are never ethical, and that's bad.
But so then why should we be giving like power to kill people to the people who would otherwise program these laws? Like if they're already incapable of programming ethical machines, why would we give them the ability to just kill without programming?
Sure. I think that the Kerpia evidence and the advantage indicates that there's kind of like a deconstruction of all of these, i.e. the way that like software creators have their power over laws is something that like starts to be checked back from the affirmative. I also think that like somebody who's a computer scientist sitting in like a lab somewhere is not going to like be going directly out and then like killing people on the battlefield like post plan.
Sure. That sounds fine. I'm going to start taking prep. Okay, I'll end prep there. I took 247, so that's 313 remaining. I'll send out the doc. Okay, it's sent. The order is going to be 3 off in case. Is everyone ready? Okay.
I didn't get the doc yet.
Yeah, I don't have the email.
Okay. It should be coming, so just let me know.
I just got it.
Okay, great. Monica, are you ready? Okay.
Sorry, I got it, but like my word loads like super slowly. So it's
Yeah, don't worry.
okay. I'm good.
Okay. Everyone good? The affirmative posits the wrong starting point for its investigation and killability. Their posting of laws of unique necropolitual violence atomizes the individual and removes the human from the machine, valorizing non-algorithmic killing and eroding ethical foundations of subjecthood. The impact is a fundamental link to that and undermines the coherence of ethical subjecthood. The alt is to embrace assemblage thinking as the foundation of correct and moral virtue. Ethics why ban algorithm when we are the problem shippers. 20. Arguments privilege superiority of human judgment, such decisions idealize human warfare and glorify human kill decisions. Security issues transform. Critique of AWS is broadening and focus needs to reflect on the relationship between humans and machines. Critique of disavow the ontological ethical entanglement of humans with autonomous systems. This cannot address how humans constitute themselves as ethical subjects within an assemblage that includes autonomous weapons systems. A technical moral virtue ethics rejection such as the individual as atomistic and adapt the ideas of virtue ethics for the tactile saturated global environment. Such wisdom does not constitute a lewd rejection, but neither an uncritical acceptance of tech posthumanism critiques privileging of human capacities and programs cognitive assemblages human share the project with artificial life. Our reflections on no political position making must account for the partnership with such life forms and technology to interact with and transform the conditions in terms of ethical decisions, ethical agency, not based on the free will of an autonomous subject but emerges from the interpretation of information human technical cognitive scientists interact with, as well as transform the terms interior ethical agency is exercise. Constructing the human chart is data-fied algorithms and predicted juxtaposed with kill machine such as AWS is problematic based on a zero-sum game with the ethical capability of humans appears to decline instead of critiquing the very ethicality of killing. Ethics becomes truncated to utility and judgment on when and under what circumstances killing should take place. These approaches dominate the ethics scholarship on AWS. Read AWS through the lens of relational ethics, where the ontological qualities of autonomous system generate conceptions of ethical agency, which human subjects via collective engagement with others constitute themselves as ethical subjects. Reject plan-focused frameworks to the efforts of marketing campaign, not a portfolio advocacy. That link turns the case by locking in policy fatal to the above for the team with the best relationship to laws. Jank 16. This moment never turned front with unalterable consequences on the decision to employ laws. The report reduces laws to future binary decision blind and revisionist issue framing the debate into the killer robots has rocketed laws into the international stage while doing the discussion framing engendered. Despite this rapidly gained momentum, that has occurred. Our confused and circular discussion setting knocks up for failure. To preemptively ban his unprecedented efforts were logically empirically based. Laser already used the campaign of the price paid for successful marketing had the obfuscation of the issues next off. Next states have to ban lethal autonomous weapons except for the Cosbot. Cosbot is all. So for 17, related development is eliminating animals considered invasive. The borders between civil and military use may be seriously difficult to draw. Cosbot designed to patrol the Great Barrier Reef, targeting the crown-of-sun starfish population responsible for the decline in coral. It can deliver lethal shots and can think and learn for itself, leading autonomous detection and injection to save the Great Barrier Reef. Kelly 18. After the reef's coral died between 1985 and 2012, fish can regain coral. Only if the crown-of-thorns populations are kept under control, the starfish will die within 24 hours of injection. Efforts to reduce the population of crown-of-thorns are vital to survival of the reef. Coral reef destruction causes global ecosystem collapse and human extinction. Arsenal 16. Reefs offer unique ecosystems that provides food for 25% of sea life. Reefs have a value of 172 billion. Loss will have significant impact to the global economy and destruction is likely to negatively impact many other species. Also, corals take a long time to grow. The GBR has been existing for nearly 20,000 years. Oceans are vital to human life. Are valued at nearly 24 trillion since oceans provide about 50% of the oxygen and capture 30% of carbon. Protecting them is critical to human survival. Next off, weapon innovation is crucial to encouraging continued research and development. AI banning AWS hurts climate change, fighting AI innovation. Capture McLaughlin 19. Because it's hard to move to ban use if policymakers enact such a ban of research and AI defense agencies have been significant funding for tech invention. Much of the research to support autonomous weapons would yield dual-use technology. More expensive AI development policies based on the precautionary principle so slow and make the development of AI more expensive. Policies that increase the cost of developing AI will likely discourage innovation in AI by creating a substantial barrier for entry for startups. AI will through innovation, so policies that limit the development of AI will limit innovation. The right to use human review illustrates how attempts to mitigate the impact of AI could also stifle its adoption. Firms use AI because it can analyze significantly faster and cheaper than humans. And turns the ties in the fight against climate change. AI has been able to generate insights in the future. AI augments weather predictions that upgrades address the change in renewable energy with data provided from weather station and give a holistic view of how climate change. It takes decades of human-led research to identify climate change, confirm it, which has slowed down our response. Cut the card at response. Warming causes extinction, conflicts, and non-linear and unpredictable efforts to make human and natural systems inhospitable while increasing escalatory conflict. Even the effects are far off only drastic action now solves. 19. Climate change will amplify humanitarian crisis, which result in deployment of military personnel, aggravate conflict over water, food, and energy. The question is, can the global order survive in small differences in temperature result in significant changes to social, economic, and political consequences? Climate change will wreak havoc on human and natural systems with consequences for national security. Change in temperature will impact food stores, will damage infrastructure, labor activity, and growth. Diseases will become prevalent. Challenges translate into migration and geopolitical conflict. Regions would be literally uninhabitable, to say nothing of sea level rise. For economically important cities, cut the card at cities. On case, the plan gets circumvented, no distinction between fully and partially autonomous weapon systems. They can be reprogrammed interchangeably. Solvency relies on effective oversight, which the plan can't mandate. Anderson at L14. Take an autonomous and a nearly autonomous system are basically the same. Nearly autonomous can reprogram it to eliminate the human role, whether a system is operating autonomously based on effective oversight. Operational context limit the human role fully, and a highly automated system will be virtually indistinguishable. System will be easy to transition from one to the other. Given great practical difficulty of distinguishing, a legal ban would be easy to circumvent and very difficult to enforce. And scholars agree that circumvention is inevitable. Gyro 16. Ban is opposed by several theorists, easy to circumvent and very difficult to enforce. It will be difficult to demarcate permissible from impermissible. Moral hazard causes human error and miscalc. Laws are net better umbrella at L20. Robotic weapons accurately differentiate between combatants and non-combatants. Technology surpass human performance capabilities. Results will act ethically superior. Numerous acts of barbarism as a result of the harsh conditions. Emotional distress causes war crimes. LAWs are unaffected. Fatigue affects the ability of soldiers to perform optimally and thus the accuracy of their shots. Laws kill in a more humane manner. Computers, weapons programs can engage targets far more accurately. Laws are impervious to the psychological shortcomings of human and banning laws fails. That's why the available can be easily hit and can be quickly put the affect counterproductive independently. You should be skeptical of the offers since they're coercive, advocating for a ban and for fear of backlash. Curse 18 and will not work even if all countries sign a treaty. It takes a long time to deploy nukes. This allows other signatories to react. Effective inspections are possible. It's the opposite with autonomous weapons. They have a very short wear and pop time. Effective inspections are impossible. However, no different regular weapons signatories would continue to research with low cases of detection. They would know that others are likely doing the same, and that abstaining is not an option. Ban could lead to a building backlash. It would push development further into secrecy. Skip the next card. Laws development far into the future and will be going to the Rabkin card. Rabkin 17 laws yes can deter casualties and company broad precisely limiting the resources needed for war. Rabkin 17 robotics reduces the size of ground forces needed to wage war. They can withdraw soldiers. They can reduce the cost that deters nations from stopping humanitarian disasters or civil war. Attack, reduce deaths and destruction among civilians and combatants. Weapons provide nations with signals to convey their results or their trustworthiness. Can help respond to threats about international stability with reduced costs and harms. But overall, they don't solve necropolitics. They just leave us to kill people with more people instead of machines, which causes more harm because it will actually kill indiscriminately. For example, like people disregard laws of war right now. Letting the programmers of robots do the killing instead of the robots is not making it better because they can go under like human stress. The road card says that the only reason that we want critical thought is so that we can affect real policy change that will help people. So if we win that we're saving more lives, then we should win the round. Don't let them act like they're more critical than me. I'm good for cross.
All right. Let's start with the critique, or first status of the K and the pick.
Both are condo.
Okay, let's start with the critique. What orientations about killability or lethal autonomous weapons does the critique disagree with in the AF?
Sure. So we critique your framing of laws because you're seeding around
laws?
Like just like the way that you look at laws.
What specifically about the way that we look at laws?
Sure. So you look at laws, the AF is like, oh, we have to ban laws because they're uniquely bad. They're uniquely necropolitical. But we're critiquing that because you are separating the human from the machine. You're saying that what the human programmer does and what the human like government does and what the machine does, what the law does, they're completely separate entities. But
that's fine. What does the world of the alt look like?
Sure. So the world of the alt is that we focus on assemblage thinking as the foundation of technomoral.
What does that mean?
Okay, yeah. So what it means is that we get to save lives. The Shippers evidence shows that the rejection of laws disavows the interconnectedness of humans and cognitive non-beings, which fosters virtue ethics.
Wait, so how does the alternative solve that?
I mean, the alt is to embrace assemblage thinking.
What does it mean to embrace assemblage thinking? Like, how do you do that in this round? How does the judge vote for assemblage thinking?
Sure. So we are critiquing the way that you separate the laws by the humans, but embracing assemblage thinking is the recognition that they are inherently interconnected.
Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about the pick. Let's talk about the disad. Not all AI is lethal autonomous weapons. How does us eliminating lethal autonomous weapons get rid of sufficient AI to not be able to solve climate change anymore?
Sure. Even if the AF isn't getting rid of all AI research in its totality, the warming is still a super big impact. And we show that Drysdale Amy Schumer Drysdale, that future innovation and like super drastic action right now, that's a Melton 19 card,
Okay.
is the only way to solve extinction. So like getting rid of it is just like
future innovation is what solves. Why do like independent private sector companies that are like have like monetary incentive to develop AI not solve this in that case?
Sure. So obviously, like the government and multiple governments, as in the world of the AF, are some of the biggest research centers for AI, like climate change research, etc. So if you get rid of that, then you get rid of like a really massive portion of what would actually like solve of the AI research that would solve.
Okay, sounds good. 5 of prep, we'll start it now. Stop prep at 2:30 remaining. It's been sent. Let me know when everyone gets it or is good for an order.
I got it. So I'm good for an order.
The order is going to be case, the K, the pick, the disad. Is everyone good? Okay. Lethal autonomous weapons use hierarchical organization, discipline, and control in the intrinsic function of unquestioning killing to promote killability, seeks power over life. This creates unavoidable control that gives sovereign power of death as those people states inception of their lives do not matter. Reproduce colonialism, race, and more. They were for we solved by one, banning lots to revenge laws, as to engaging critique of mentality. They express how lots capable action, powers goes up and down, and three, using policies of cultural reorientation on states to kill it, and but after endorse of pedagogical and the political critique of enactment on abandoned laws, and the role of the judge to be a critical educator invested in minimizing social violence, and send one teacher role that does a critical educator argument questioning social independence and pedagogy to decrease sexual violence. And the line by line, first they say there's no distinction. This one normally means soft states will individually make laws about what make policies about what their laws mean. And the jury evidence is specific to UN ban, which we are every individual state doing it individually. And they say the umbrella evidence that laws are humans are better when they haven't answered the fundamental nexus question of the affirmative, which is that laws are bad and that everybody unique kind of necropolitical politics. But two is that it doesn't solve it when you solve the back where the ounce and evidence indicates that there's a kind of a reverse causal here. The Kirsch evidence, they say that the ban fails when no universal prohibition solves stigma independently service mentioned. That's goose 15. Fully autonomous weapons was developed not a little dating back and bottle of the treaty ban weapons, weapon power like those in order to turn the treaty less than interaction of dating but leadership would be a country like the appropriate ways heated battle actually one of the joys weapons probably treaty we have that and the Russian evidence say that it's not specific to laws, it's just robotics in general. They say we don't stop for politics, but one is that the program to kill people, which means that programs aren't going to go kill people afterwards. They say that, and we don't have to solve all of it, we just have to solve the specific and it's the F. They say the answer to the Giroux has been no, the Giroux specifically the Arnold about no alternative rule about means that the only one you have to do is this one, the critique. Interpretation with a hypothetical implementation of the offer is a competitive alternative. A is class critiques are infinite and particular, so the debate away from the core topic prevents application. It's key engagement how to get the topic is in order to access and impacts real advocacy. B is competitive equity, but the effort to solve reach competitive and structural benefits that we need to win. And the first point with material capacity, the playing point of mindset shift to the all and the K makes the net benefit is resolving material consequences. The F B is to the F and the all the keys resolving material violence is the impacts of the K and C to the F and the all one use moves the lack of the link and take also voting that she makes a K move target on the 1 year to answer no account shifting is such a K. Then line by line first is that there's shown that there's no link to this Allison solves because we are literally exactly what this talking about is about investigating the interactions between humans and laws. We're not seeing it as one specific way, but then when I see advantage evidence is really specific on this. Second is that this is exactly what the app is, and third is that a link turns out they're also going to conclude that all laws are bad. I should say even if they have disagreements in our methodologies, the endpoint is best, and they say plan focus bad. One is that the affirmative is dual focus. We're not just looking into the state to solve all our problems, but it's a dual pedagogical approach. That was clear from the one I see. So again, that this is very specific to the campaign to stop killer robots, was not our app. And oops, they didn't read an impact to the critique. Force them to just reference you have something about what the impact to this K is because it's just a bunch of cards about laws. The pick. One, no pay grade are released on lethal. I see, even if they're alternative, they're not lethal. And that's the nuancy cards and we have new qualification definition starts the debate too late. That's a member of no date. Other causes related to death. And read their evidence, it doesn't do dates. It just things like if vaccine shots to animals and great barrier relief. And the great barrier reef isn't key to the environment. It's already going down now. And the picks are voted to zap by concealing one is the offense forcing us to debate ourselves to close caution because the offense less prepared to debate when possible to debate because key to the fairness. And 3 prone to with 4 prone to the well issues parts of the pick and do the pick and then the after solving harms of biopower and then protecting against our specific weapons and time frame intrinsic or just like it picks the rapid and intrinsic no different picks are all we have to say and there's no internal link evidence that the sharper evidence just says that the great peer review says something that laws affect and there's no and then the rest of it just says that it's bad. There's no internal link saying that laws are key or the key player in internal and great peer review. That is sad. The actions of these of it is laws necessitated the logic of killability. There's no justification, genocide, or is an endless unnecessary death. And we don't buy innovation. AI hold them for a unique benefit, lethal autonomous weapons. AI and innovation is vital. Private sectors need non-lethal militaries make the continue profitability of AI as a kill a feeling and loss of remaining laws. And skip that card. Option intervening to check the tail end of risk of warming. That's for call 17. Global levels of global warming level because human extinction has a reason climate change, climate change interactions, towards risk and scales of border change, and humanity set out as the very extinction world with the actual climate change begins the logic of humanity, the international community. So strong that it is the way to control temperatures, and they've conceded a root cause argument coming out of the one I see that necropolitics what makes extinction inevitable, making the fact that people don't care about the environment in the first place because they see people's inherently the index is inherently non-valuable.
Cool. I'll take the rest of my prep. That's 313. Independent reasons to drop the team other than condo.
I didn't read condo. It's just
Okay. And then you're like, okay. Okay, that was time. No new docs. No new cards. The order is going to be picks, the pick, decide, K case. Is everyone ready? Cool.
Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Just to be sure I got the order right, you said pick, decide, K case?
Yeah, and then like picks theory on top.
Got you.
Okay, cool. Everyone ready? Great. Counter-interpretation, negative debaters, made rate of planning, close to counterplan. First, a railroad policy making the railroad policy makers evaluate all parts of the plan. We obviously drop parts that aren't good and prefer a modified version of the plan that was better than the whole plan. Second is after plan choice, after choose just after funding against after and force, etc. Takes are necessary to check back against tiny absence to give the reciprocal specificity that's key to fairness. As the needs the ability to check back against tiny absence. And third is argumentative agency that should be responsible for the plan they chose and the planks they chose to include the chosen plan. So they should have to turn all parts of it as key to education because the teacher debater has debaters how to defend their arguments. At best, drop the argument. On pick, we'll concede the perm. They have no offense. We're not going for it. On the AI disable, concede the root cause argument that takes out the term. There's no offense on this position either. We're not going for it. The K. Our thesis is that the plan atomizes the political analysis of laws. The app understands laws as a unique modality of state necropolitical violence, which creates a binary between humans and machines. They create this human-machine divide, undermines our ethical foundation. They creates a unit of analysis problem where human decision-making is predicted in a vacuum, which ensures serial policy failure. That strippers they kept claiming no impact, but there obviously is. Only recognizing our mutual entanglement and cognitive non-being can reframe our broader ethical obligations to one another and cohere agency in the age of technology. That's key to saving lives. If they really did believe in necropolitics, we should be winning because we saved them. Because we saved the most lives. You have to extend the role of the ballot to vote for the team with the best relationship to autonomous weapon system. This framework is the best middle ground for allowing the affirmative to be weighed against criticisms of it. This is better than their for a couple of reasons. So first they say that like this is better than their interview about like being a critical educator. You should vote for whatever debater does the best debating, because at the end of the day, debate is a game. So you should allow the neg to weigh their arguments, and you shouldn't even if they weigh the hypothetical implementation of the app versus the alt, this is still voting for the team with the best relationship to autonomous weapon system. Like if you're both reading like semi-critical apps, semi-critical arguments, you should vote for whoever is able to look at and frame laws in the best way. This affirmative creates a relationship of moral panic and fear of autonomous weapons. The key response by relating with mutual entanglement, vote for whatever relationship is best. That shows that directly takes out all of their arguments about like dual pedagogy. We show that this is actual about like dual pedagogy. This is way better. Prefer this interpretation because one, reciprocity. Only framework gives neg access to grant external to uncritical embrace of weapons labeled killer robots by the international community, which makes negation possible. Second is education, because debate shapes our subjectivities by imbuing us with certain pedagogical practices. The mean should justify the ends, not the other way around. If we successfully problematize the way that one AC comes to understand the world, then you should be inherently skeptical of their claims as the plan's merit. Your role as a judge is as an educator, not a policymaker. If we win that the act is part of a violent ideology, then the ballot should be used to reject that. Third, fiat isn't just imaginary, makes real-world solvency less likely. Only we have evidence linking the ask fear-based advocacy to the stalling of international progress on how to resolve the potential harms of laws. If they win that the world isn't ready for lethal autonomous weapons, then vote nay to prevent that world from coming to fruition. Fourth, they don't even have offense, act choice, first and last speech, and infinite prep offsets the strategic advantages of case. It's also inevitable because of theory trolling, inherent discrepancies in team versus and spreading speed. The alt is to embrace assemblage thinking as the foundation for technomoral virtue ethics. Assemblage thinking poses that rather than treating individual actors as the unit of analysis and policy making, we should see ourselves as all nations entangled in a web of mutual obligations. The shipper's evidence argues that the rejection of AWS is about the interconnectedness of humans and cognitive non-beings. Embracing assemblage thinking recenters an ethical agency around the interpretive process of machine learning interactions that fosters technomoral virtue ethics, which rejects atomistic conceptions and works towards the fostering of non-conscious ethical decision making. And that solves the app way better than the app, and ensures that our ethical foundations are oriented towards creating a world where machines can't be ethical, rather than rejecting them wholesale in favor of our currently flawed ethical decision making regime. Even if laws likely won't be more human than humans. In this code, the app creates ethical foundations that make everyone more ethical, which leads to less death. The app says that laws are bad by shifting the terrain of killability, but the app merely shifts necro power from the machine to the code. Our argument is that we should be able to claim both on the line by line. The only the main thing that they said are perms, but all their perms are incompatible with the Draper says that the critique of laws is the disavowal of the alt's calls for entanglement. These are mutually exclusive. Also, framework takes out the perm that shows their relationship to laws and the one I see. The perm severs their relationality, which is a voting issue for severance. And even if they win compatibility, the perm causes alt failure. It claims to an atomistic view of states and individuals, which prevents a formulation of techno-moral virtue ethics. Links to the KR dissets to the perm are linked to the framing of laws. The plain sees morality of human. Shipper says that this valorizes human co-decisions being moral because at least the conscience being made the decision. But human cognition is a writing's ethical basis, and our own knowledge is informed by technology and vice versa. Not just that algorithms are ethically clarified, it takes away the gun away from the machine to give it to its programmer. For example, the creepy evidence on Solvency posits that we need to consider a situation where less than for that it's permissible to kill civilians based on observing the unlawful conduct of the adversary. The evidence uses this hypothetical to justify banning laws when this is the exact calculation human decision makers make on the battlefield every day. This is an independent shift to set to the perm because the plan allows military planners to put their hands clean and say, wow, we almost went too far with those laws. We should be really grateful for how human our soldiers are and will empower humans to act as even more violent as a necropolitan violence, but also impact turning the framing of their corporeal evidence on solvency that critiques that the AF argues social and technological system of how they arrived at laws is a permissible strategy of killability. Our argument is that laws have not changed the sharing killability because of humans' mutual entanglement with AI and the way that they inform human decision making already, allowing us to separate ourselves from laws that are only available for the responsible for their programming and other unethicality sanitizing on necropolitics. There are uncritical embrace of utilitarian justification for anti-law criticism and undermines our ability to follow utilitarianism by creating a society where sacrifice becomes ethically justifiable. This shows value life which independently outweighs, but is also internal link turn to the value judgments made by the AF, and they don't get access to the linkage. Yes, the AF say they had to start by investigating power structures, but our link is based on the premise that they investigate these power structures the wrong way, extend circumvention. If durable fiat doesn't solve durable fiat, just means that they get to pass men and circumvention is inevitable because there's no way to really distinguish, which means that we overall lead to less killing, which means that even under the framework of killability, we still win because we lead to more lives being saved. That's the umbrella card that shows human error and miscalc.
Okay, we have 2:30 of prep left. Okay, the order is going to be case K.
You say case K?
Yeah. Can I get a thumbs up from everyone? Okay. Devon, are you ready? Okay. Lethal autonomous weapons promote automatic kill ability, the power of the state to render lives valueless, at will and create negligible control or degree, or recreate colonial racial power hierarchies, but after endorse an investigative project of negligible control that starts with ban of laws that promotes the reorientation of power to life and warfare or events death, and the will of the judges to be a critical educator, invest in minimizing structural violence, and the one to teach evidence, especially critical ethical educators questioning the structural independence of the pedagogy to decrease structural violence, and the line by line for states of the umbrella evidence that they've conceded a reverse causal argument that we saw back for human warfare by changing the way the conceptions of the and pedagogy surround lethal autonomous weapons. That was the conceptual one to see at the beginning, and the circumvention argument, they say circumvention but they conceded the goose 15 evidence, which is that prohibition solves because it creates a national and international stigma around lethal autonomous weapons. And no circumvention. There's no specific scenario for circumvention either, so you can't vote on it, and no impact to either of these arguments. So they're not arguments case always. Okay. The first thing on the critique is that you send vague alter a voter, they vague alter authority don't know what the alternative does because there's no conception of this. Is the one I see. They say that it is all nations coming together. This is not what their evidence is. Their evidence is literally just about the conceptions of laws and doesn't have any kind of alternative methodology for what it is, except for that we should think about laws or virtue ethics or something like that. If you can trace an alternative that you've understood since the 1 and C, the cross of the 1 and C since the 2 and all, that is the only way that you can vote negative in this debate. But otherwise, their evidence is not say what it is that you should not give it. And this means that they cannot resolve any of the link arguments, and that it's that it's just so fun. There's just a small criticism. The evidence is no impact. The second is no impact argument. They say it's a greater ethical agency of that. But what is that? What does that mean? We have they have conceded a ton of impacts coming out of the 1AC, such as the inevitability of extinction, racial hierarchies, and the inevitability of death, which is all outweighs the critique because things like greater ethical agency doesn't mean anything. That it outweighs on scope and magnitude because it is a huge risks of extinction and everyday violence that happens to people due to necropolitics. The next thing that we're going to win is the no link. They said that the link is about human machine divide, but this is literally the after the beginning. The evidence that they want to critique so badly is just saying exactly what we wanted to say, because it is talking about the ways in which humans and lethal autonomous weapons go together and have their powers to flow together in order to create necropolitics, which means that only the affirmative can solve through the dual method of solving back through the dual method of doing the state and governmentality control, which is the one that solves back for the way that the flows operate in every day. But also this means there's no link and that we are the alternative itself, because this is the exact way of thinking that they wanted since the beginning, which means that it justifies permutation to both. They say that it values mutual. No, it isn't. There's no link to this. It's just stating that we make a human divide, which we don't. That is exactly what the AF is critiquing. They say it's severance. No, it's not. It's not severance because there's literally no link. They say it assures all failure, but one, we don't even know what the alt is, so how can you assure all failure? But second is that it assures all succeeding because it attaches it to material resistance, which is the only way to representations. They say to shift is happen. No, there's no link for this. There's no shift to it either. They know what shifting to, and there's no kind of impact for the shift is out about how that would turn to outweigh a case or the permutation. They say that the impact on Capri. No, the cards are just about what they say. They say it allows us to separate between the binaries. No, it doesn't. There's no binary that the Capri evidence justifies. It's different. It's literally about how there's kind of a melding together of the humans and the machines in order to create power control. You should read the card after the debate if you're skeptical with this. There's literally no link. There's no impact. You don't even know what the alt does. Vote. Good debate.
Cool. Good debate.
All right.